Hello, YouTube. Today on the Naughty Librarian, we are going to wildly speculate about a possible Season 3 of Mayfair Witches. Mayfair Witches Season 2 has just concluded, and there has been no official announcement that they are going to be getting a Season 3. It is kind of all up for debate at this point, and frankly, it wasn't the best season of television ever made at this point, and I don't know if viewership was good enough to get them a season 3. Most shows get canceled after season 2, so who knows how this is gonna go in the future. I just think season 2 is unfortunately a victim of the writer's strike. A lot of the episodes felt like, oh boy, did you need a writer around to fix stuff. Just so many episodes were just like threadbare, just trying to stretch it to get to 44 minutes of runtime because like they couldn't write anything new, but the only stuff they had was kind of shitty. So I think they tried their best with what they had, and it unfortunately wasn't the best. But that all being said, right now we're currently in that weird limbo zone between like, are we getting renewed or are we getting canceled? Who knows? So I figured, why not wildly speculate about a possible season 3? Honestly, they're so far off from the books and kind of have set things up that work for the books in a way that it's really difficult to say with any degree of certainty. So this is just gonna be for funsies. You know what? Let's just start with our like biggest hot topic issue here. Is Lasher dead? It's really hard to say for sure because you can make a compelling argument for both alive and dead. I guess he's like the Schrodinger's cat of this season. The show went out of their way to make it look like Lasher was dead. Why do I still think he's alive? Good question, I'll answer. I think he's alive for a couple reasons. One, they specifically set it up in the show that if Rowan drinks Lasher's blood, she would be able to bring back the dead. Why wouldn't she be able to bring back Lasher? I mean, it's his blood, for heaven's sakes. Second reason is I didn't see that body buried. I just see a body on a field that frankly didn't look that grievously injured. So I'm like, you can put that back together. And reason 3 why I think he's alive is that it would just make an awesome reveal for season 3 because they very conspicuously cut away before we found out what happened next. It goes from like Lasher dead to Rowan at the dock. There is a big chunk of time missing between those two events. Like they had to go to the house, they had to pack their shit up. The family was not happy to see them. They just killed a bunch of dudes. Like what was that like? They just left out so many things that were important to the story that it feels conspicuous. Like we're not gonna actually see him dead, so I don't think he's dead. But to play devil's advocate, you can make an argument that Lasher is actually dead. I mean, in the book Lasher, spoiler alert, Lasher dies at the end of it. So Lasher is killed in the book by this character named Michael, who doesn't exist in the show, but Michael is Rowan's husband in the books. And he has a whole hell of a lot of motive to want to kill this guy. The show paints Lasher as a much more sympathetic character. Like he has done evil things, but like he didn't mean to be evil, I guess. In the book, like straight up, Lasher is kind of like a magical date rapist. Like, he is not the good guy in this book. And later on, when he gets his, like, memory back in the book, he does end up going to Michael and telling his whole story of woe. Like, oh, I had a bad childhood and people were mean to me. And Michael's like, I don't give a shit about how bad your childhood was. You killed a bunch of people. You tried to kill me. You killed my son because you took over his body. Like, your body was my unborn baby's body. And also, you have destroyed Rowan because Rowan's in a coma at this point at the end of the book. So he's like, I am going to end you, son. Trigger warning for gore here. Michael beats him to death with a hammer. Hammer time, everybody. I've been mentioning that a lot throughout the season. That's hammer time. And it's gruesome in the book. Like, there's nothing left but, like, pulp and a couple teeth. Like, it is very gory in the book. That all being said, the book has Lasher die at the end of Lasher, and this season was supposed to be loosely based on Lasher. I mean, it took a hard left, and most of the things that happen in the season do not happen in the book Lasher. But there is precedent for him being dead at the end of it. Also, I guess kind of like a third option maybe would be like, okay, Lasher died, but Rowan's got all of his blood and like a super lot of power. I don't know, maybe like she'll come back and like magic him a body and like call down his spirit like Suzanne did and like put him in a new body. I don't know, that could be a cool scene in season 3. So he's either alive or he's dead. Either way, there's no way that Lasher won't be in season 3. Like, that is absurd to think. Also, side note to all of this, because someone brought this up in the comments of my previous video, why do they even need to kill the Taltos at all? They just need blood to drink. Do they have to die for the blood to work? I'm pretty sure if you just asked Lasher nicely for some blood, he would have just given it to you. Like, there's no need to kill them. It really feels like people just wanted to kill them. Like, it feels like it's fun for them at this point. Like, there's no reason for it to work any better if they're dead. So I don't know, I'm very confused on this point as well. Like, why go through any of this? But that kind of goes into like the writing of season 2 and how not a lot of it made sense. Next plot point I want to talk about is, what about Lark? Lark at the end of season 2, he takes the forget me tea and he forgets about Rowan completely. However, simply forgetting about a person isn't exactly an automatic out of the series. Like, who knows if that spell's gonna stick forever? Maybe something's gonna shake loose in his head. Maybe some memories will come back. I don't know, maybe she didn't brew it right. Who knows? There's just so many like loopholes here. And I think the biggest reason why they would bring Lark back into the show is because, like, remember a few episodes ago when Lark did that genetic testing on Rowan? And he figured out her DNA sequence. Yeah, I don't think he ever threw that away. He said he'll destroy it, but we never saw it destroyed. So likely, I think he still has all that research. However, though, Lark is a character in the books. And in the books, like, Lark and Rowan don't have a relationship at all. But he is a geneticist. And Rowan did send him genetic material to test. And Lark having too much knowledge of all of these genetics in particular is why the Talamasca kills him. So yikes, this could be bad for Lark if he comes back next season. However, this whole like, ooh, I have genetic data and maybe I want to publish a paper about it does kind of set up a plot point that is in book 3, Taltos. In book 3, there's a splinter cell within the Talamasca, and they're like want to do weird stuff with Taltos. They want to breed them basically. And they end up like tying off loose ends in this case, so no one finds out about it. And that includes killing this character named Aaron, who's also not in the book. I guess his closest stand-in would be Cyprian. However, Aaron was the best. Everybody loved this guy. He was like 80 and super cool, and he was a friend to Rowan, and they kill him. So Rowan loses her shit, and she's like, hell no. I'm going to Europe, I'm gonna go find the Talamasca guys who did this, and I'm about to go kill some nerds with a breeding kink. Like, she goes on a warpath about it. And if the Talamasca does something to Lark, like without his research and stuff, that would set her up to go after the Talamasca. So, I don't know, it kind of sets that up a little bit. Not exactly how Taltos had it, but I mean, it could work. On a personal note, I actually do really like the character Lark, because this poor guy, like, this guy showed up to help Rowan with the genetics problem, and now he's like neck deep in like pagan witchcraft. Like, he did not think his vacation was gonna end that way. So poor guy, he's way in over his head. I actually really like him. I like him with Rowan. I think he's like a good romantic partner. I do not want Rowan to get back together with Cyprian, because frankly, Cyprian can do better. Cyprian is my beautiful baby and I love him, and he's too good for her. So I don't want them back together. Go throw Lark in the mix again. He is very kind of funny at his fish out of water scenario. On to the next plot point. What do you do with a problem like Julian? Well, I don't know, because frankly, Julian's storyline from the books and the show is just night and day different. But what we do know is that Julian is inhabiting Cortland's body, and she's got to get him out of Cortland's body. Like, she's certainly not going to be able to lure him into a Victrola. She's going to have to do something that would entice him out of Cortland's body. Perhaps, I don't know, maybe she builds him a new body. She could just be building bodies in a body factory out here, because she could make one for, like, Lasher. Maybe she'll give one to Julian. Oh my goodness, what if she makes a Lasher body and she offers it to Julian? Oh my god, that could be a thing that happens, because Julian would totally want a Taltos body. That would definitely get him to like switcheroo, so that could be an option. I just came up with that right now. However, in the process of this whole hypothetical getting Julian out of Cortland's body thing, I think Rowan is gonna have to resort to a lot of really dark magic. And Rowan already has this tendency towards darkness naturally. So I think this battle with Julian going forward could easily also be a villain origin story where maybe she keeps drinking more and more in Lasher's blood until she's like gets too powerful and starts making morally questionable decisions, a la like Scarlet Witch maybe, kind of that storyline, because this show loves to borrow from other media. So I'm thinking that might be where we're going with it. Maybe have a redemption arc towards the end. She's gonna go off the deep end and like really doing some evil things, and she's gonna need to be pulled back. Maybe JoJo, maybe Moira will help her come back to the light, so to speak. Maybe she has to include the Talamasca in all this, because like at the end of season 2, the Talamasca has like 8 of Lasher and Emilet's children. They like took them out via portal, and they grow up really fast. So now they have like 8 adult Taltos. Emilet is missing. They said they couldn't find her after all of these things, and she had one more kid with her. So now there's like 8, 9, there's like between 10 or 11, because I don't know if I have my math right. So there's like a bunch of adult angry Taltos who all have beef with Julian. So, you know, I think that could be interesting if they go that direction. Like, she's gonna have to form an army to take him on. Okay, so next thing we need to talk about here is how we're going to incorporate Taltos, that book, because this show has taken a hard left. It is so far from the books. How are we gonna like pull bits and stuff out of Taltos to incorporate into the story? I already talked about the whole like Splinter Cell and the Talamasca deal, where they were just doing all kinds of evil things because they wanted to breed Taltos. You know, they killed a guy, they falsified documents, all like the normal evil conspiracy things that they do. But what I didn't mention earlier is that the Talamasca do find out about this Splinter Cell, and they are very upset about it. And here's the thing, you don't want to piss off a librarian who knows so many ways to torture people. TLDR here, the Splinter Cell meets very gruesome ends at the hands of the Talamasca themselves. So that could be kind of an interesting thing if we're going to do more Talamasca stuff. One of the main plot points in the book Taltos is the character Ashlar. They've been calling Lasher Ashlar, and they're 2 different people. Like, Ashlar is a real Taltos. He has been around for like a few millennia at this point. He is very old, but he's still around, still alive. Ashlar ends up kind of teaming up with Rowan, and they go after the Talamasca together. It's like a whole storyline for the whole book, basically, is this Ashlar character being introduced for real. However, they haven't brought in Ashlar into the show. They've been calling Lasher Ashlar, so they might not even go that route with this character. They might just keep it as Lasher, maybe. And I'm just gonna TLDR right to the end of Ashlar's story, because in the end of Taltos, there's a character named Mona Mayfair in the books, who is not in the show. Moira is her closest stand-in, and she's really nothing like this character. Mona has a baby in this book, and that baby is also a Taltos, but it's a girl, and they name her Morrigan. And in the end, Ashlar comes to the Mayfair house. He sees Morrigan. They have like insta-love at first sight, and they run off to go back to Scotland and the Glen and like just bang the bejesus out of each other and like restore the Taltos population there. So, I mean, we could still kind of do that though, especially if they're not going to bring in a new character. It could be Lasher. This is just another reason why I think he'll be alive or brought back to life at some point. Like, maybe Lasher and Emilet finally get reunited again and they decide to go off and like populate on their own. So it could happen there. We don't really have all the same characters from the book, but we do have the materials to make that plot point work. All right, so those are all the main plot points I wanted to cover in this video. However, let's speculate more. These are things I really want to see if they get a season 3. First of all, Lasher needs to be alive, okay? It makes no sense to kill him off. He's such a big character in the show. I also would love to see more cool magic stuff, like spellcraft, rituals, potions, the works, you know? Season 1 had a lot of like rituals, like people's eyeballs turned white all the time. Like, they were doing cool magic stuff. Season 2, less cool magic stuff. I want to see the magic stuff. I think it would be cool if they could manage a crossover with Interview with the Vampire more so than just the little one we got with Felix, because there is precedent in the books, because later on in this book called Blood Canticle, Rowan and Lestat actually meet each other, and they go on this whole mission to save some Taltos together, and like they even have like a slight romance with each other. And Rowan wants to become a vampire in this book, and Lestat's like, no, I'm not gonna do that because you're just sad and want to be a vampire, and like that's a bad reason, and also your family needs you, so like not right now, but like maybe later. So there is precedent for Lestat and Rowan actually knowing each other at certain points. Maybe they'll throw in a cameo. It'd be really cute if they're just walking around New Orleans and they just pass each other on the street. It doesn't have to be a big one, but I think it would be nice to see it. Also, I want to see more Mayfair history, which is wild because the history of the Mayfairs is gross, to say the least. Their family tree is a broom handle, okay? There's no branches on it. Oh my God. So yikes for that. But they could change it up a little bit because there's a lot of cool witches that I would love to kind of meet. And like some of these witches are ghosts in the story at certain points. We've really only met Suzanne and Deidre. And there's a lot of witches in between those 2 points. So it'd be nice to see more like witch backgrounds because they have all these diaries and we've barely scratched the surface of that. And lastly, I would love to see some more characters from the Talamasca because there's all of these characters that are super important in like Vampire Chronicles and to the Talamasca itself that we haven't met at all. And I don't know if we'll even meet them in the Talamasca spin-off show, but like David Talbot, he is a huge deal in Interview with the Vampire, and he's like head of the London office. So like it would make sense we meet David at certain points here, right? And David's like protege is Jesse Reeves, another really big character in Interview with the Vampire. Or if you saw like the Queen of the Damned movie, I mean the Queen of the Damned movie is nothing like the book, but Jesse Reeves is in that. So she's an established character. And another really big character that we need to meet finally is Merrick Mayfair. Merrick Mayfair is a Talamasca agent and later becomes a vampire. She is cool, and like there's a whole book named after her in the Vampire Chronicles series, so we need to meet her at some point. So basically I want them to introduce all these like fun things from the books but like omit all the gross sex stuff. If they can do that, A+. All right, I think that's enough wild speculating for one day. Let me know in the comments down below, what is the top thing you want to see in a season 3? Or do you think we're even going to get a season 3? Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. If you want to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And if you want cool exclusive content, including early access to videos or a book club, you can consider becoming a channel member or a patron. Links for that are in the description down below. And on that note, I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.